Is a virus a real thing? Are viruses contagious? Are we being completely duped by the medical mafia that is Big Pharma? I want to dive into a little bit of this in this video to share with you where I get my information from and to share with you the reality that we actually face. And this is something that has completely blown my mind whilst going down this kind of rabbit hole, and I'm sure it's going to blow your mind. And I don't expect anybody to understand this straight away. I don't expect anybody to actually believe what I'm saying. Like I said, I give references. I want you guys to do your own research. And I just want to start by saying you'll never really be able to see what is or the reality that we actually face if you're too busy concluding things in your heads. And you do need a slight open mind for this. You see, most people are carrying belief systems filled with hundreds and hundreds of references, false references, that support this belief system, and in people's minds they attribute this belief system as a fact, when in reality that is not fact. It's a belief, and it's filled with false references, and it's skewing people's minds into thinking the reality that we live in is actually the truth, when in fact it's not. And to understand more about viruses and what I'm going to go into, you do need some knowledge on and background on what the medical system and the big pharma, we call it now, what it actually is and how it actually was formed and who by. And I want to dive into that a little bit. You see, around about 1910, there was something called the Flexner Report, and it was made by a guy named Abraham Flexner, who was funded and worked alongside Rockefeller, John D. Rockefeller. And basically they seen an opportunity in making a huge fortune in man-made chemicals and using that to treat illnesses and disease. And what previously existed was naturopathy, holistic medicine, massage therapy, chiropractic, natural remedies and natural treatments. And a lot of hospitals were very focused around treating root causes using natural remedies. And the drug industry was growing, and the Rockefeller wanted to use his big oil money and put it into something that would really produce a lot of profits. But not only profits, he's seen an opportunity for control. And he created this report, which basically, with this report, he bought out all of these naturopathic, holistic, massage therapies, chiropractors. He bought them all out, and he basically squeezed them out of business. And he, in exchange, he set up the new medical system, the allopathic care. This was where people were going to now be treated with drugs. And he did this by buying them out, like I said. Not only did he hijack the whole entire medical system, he also hijacked the educational system. And what he started to do was he started to train what we now call medical experts into really learning and memorizing criteria that is only going to benefit Big Pharma. They started to teach people how to use drugs to treat people, and the whole medical system was hijacked, especially when it comes to healthcare. And that's why when we see today, we don't see medical experts learning anything about nutrition, learning anything about the lymph system. And so the educational system was completely hijacked, and what we would regard as medical experts were only people who have been taught what Rockefeller and what the string masters wanted them to learn. And so when we regard these people as superior and as intellectual, are in fact supporting the same system that is tearing us apart. And it's very profound when you really understand it and you really kind of understand how it works. And you need that basis of understanding to know what's happening today. And that is that Big Pharma, medical experts, although some of them are nice people, with their information, with their knowledge, are not benefiting you whatsoever. You see, that whole system profits off your sickness. it profits off you being sick, of you being unwell. So why would they want you to be well if the whole system goes bust, right? Around about 1910, this was all happening. Now, just before this, in the late 19th century, we started to see the rise of the germ theory by Louis Pasteur, and he proposed that the germ was the cause of disease. And he had a lot of contemporaries like Claude Bernard and Bechamp who suggested that it was the terrain of the body that was the main cause of the disease. And there was a lot of dispute, but the germ theory really took off, and it went kind of worldwide, national. And a lot of people started to fall susceptible to the idea that it was the germ and the microbe and these invisible killers that were causing disease. And it took off. This was the late 19th century, and this is why also that spurred, in my opinion, Rockefeller to create the plan to hijack the medical system, because he's seen an opportunity in this germ theory, and he's seen that if people believe in this germ theory, he could sell medication, poisons to people to quote unquote cure the disease. And that is my opinion, and that is actually what happened. And it's interesting because when you really understand the germ theory versus the terrain theory, Louis Pasteur on his deathbed, he even said, one of his contemporaries who was a denier of his theory, he even said Bernard was right. The microbe is nothing, the terrain is everything. He finally realized that the germ theory was a whole bullshit. It didn't hold any substance. It wasn't valid, and he realized that towards on his deathbed. The father of pathology, Dr. Virchow, I believe it is, I forgot his first name. He even said, the doctor of pathology, he studies pathology. The father of pathology, sorry, he studies pathogens. That's his life's work. He even said towards the end of his career that if he could go back in time, he would dedicate his time proving that microbes and germs seek their natural habitat, which is the diseased tissue, instead of the germ causing the diseased tissue. For example, how a mosquito approaches dirty water or stagnant water, but is not the cause of the stagnant water itself. And he proposed this idea towards the end of his career, because he finally realized this whole pathogen, this whole microbe coming into the body and causing us the disease was a load of hogwash. And so around about that time, this is when that started happening. The Rockefeller hijacked the medical system, turning natural remedies, massage therapy, chiropractic, naturopathy, holistic medicine, completely whitewashed it, made it illegal to even create your own clinic or practice that was promoting these things. And he, in exchange, birthed what we now know as big pharma hospitals that are only giving drugs, prescription medicine, poisons to treat disease. And fast forward to now, or shall I say around about 1970, when the germ theory started to fall flat on its head. People started to wake up to the germ theory and realizing it's a whole lot of bollocks. And the CDC, the puppet masters, they really did need something to rejuvenate, because they weren't getting the funding. People were clocking on to their scams, and so this is when they created the whole virus ideology. And it starts really with AIDS. What AIDS basically is a bunch of immunosuppressant diseases or illnesses all packaged into one, and they named it AIDS, and they labeled this AIDS as a virus. And if you have this virus, if you have AIDS, you have a virus. And they needed something that was going to fund the CDC around about 1970, because the CDC were not getting the funding they need, the money they needed to to fund their stockholders, their shares. And so they needed something to rejuvenate the whole system, and they came up with a virus. So like I said, they created AIDS which is basically, if you check something called the Merck manual, it has all of the pre-existing diseases that occurred, and AIDS is basically about 6 or 7 old diseases, immunosuppressant diseases, and they packaged them into one bundle and they labeled it AIDS and called it a virus. These other immunosuppressant diseases were not labeled viruses on their own, but you see, this is the tactic they used. I'm sorry for the plane that's going above my house. I'm surprised there are even planes coming in. But yes, this is what they did. And can you see the scam in that? They labeled it a virus to give it a pandemic kind of crisis, to generate the funding for the vaccines and the drugs AZT, which perpetuated and actually caused the disease. And I don't want to break down what AIDS actually is in this video. There are many people that have already done this, and if you just open your mind a little bit and research these guys, you will understand it's a complete hoax. And I'll start with a guy named Dr. I have my notes here, sorry. Dr. Robert E. Wilner. And you can start by watching his video. I will link below, and I might play a little bit of a clip here. And this guy, basically, he was an AIDS denier, they called him, and he proved that AIDS or HIV does not cause AIDS, and AIDS is one of the biggest hoax in humanity. And he, it's very suspicious what happened to him. He, on live television, he injected himself with a patient who had AIDS, the blood of a patient who had AIDS, to prove to people that he will not contract it, because it's not contracted by sexual transmission or blood transfusions. It's actually a problem with drugs and prescription drugs especially as well. And he did this on live television. He did it previously many times, but it was never recorded, or there wasn't much press. But in this video that I will link below, he did it on live television, on a live stream, and he injected himself with press everywhere. It was huge in press, and 3 to 4 months later he was actually killed. This is where it gets suspicious, because there's not much information on his death. It wasn't by AIDS. Some say it was a car accident, some say it was a heart attack or heart attacked, which is interesting because I post a video now of the CIA heart attack gun, which I think was around about this time. They were developing, so interesting. That's how they kind of wash and they wipe out these people. You also have Dr. T.C. Fry, who has the book The Great AIDS Hoax, sorry. And there's also a video. If you're watching this on Instagram, it's the link in my bio, you can check it out. If not, it's in the description below. And he talks about what a virus really is, and how it's just dead genetic cell debris that our trillions and trillions of cells produce daily. And they've now labeled this a virus, all to just fund the whole medical mafia. And it's an amazing eye-opening video that I do suggest you all watch. We also have Peter Duesberg, who has been on the AIDS case for a while, and it all starts with AIDS, by the way. Once you understand AIDS, you'll understand it all. But just this whole idea of invisible killers, of something invisible that's gonna come inside of us, and it's dead, it's gonna come inside of us, it's gonna make your cells obey to this dead genetic debris so that it can self-replicate and take over the body. It's hogwash. It's absolute hogwash. It's not how the body works. You see, that is what the CDC, the Center of Disease Control, and the medical mafia do. They create panic and pandemics, false pandemics, to carry on the funding, to produce vaccines that is actually causing you the disease. You see, what is a virus? What is the etymology of a virus? Where does the word virus come from? It just means poison. A virus is a poison. We can name anything a virus. Sorry, let's bring little buddy over here. Viruses, he even knows a virus is hoax, isn't it? No, So a virus is a poison, and we can label anything a virus. The food we eat is a virus, you know. So it's all hogwash. And there is also, check out a guy named Stefan Lanka, because people are going to talk about smallpox and polio and all of this. By the way, smallpox and polio and a lot of others, were sanitation problems. They were not cured or prevented by vaccinations. If you do a simple little bit of research, you will really understand that polio, smallpox was sanitation problems, were plumbing problems. When they improved the plumbing infrastructure, the cases of smallpox and polio all went down. It was a disease of filth, you know? You see, when people when the plumbing wasn't right and people were excreting and, sorry, my cat's playing with this, were excreting on the streets, and there was rats, and there was a lot of transmission of horrible pathogens, you could say, of horrible diseases, and that was the cause of it. And you will see when they improved the plumbing infrastructure, the cases went down. It wasn't the vaccinations. I'll link below about 52 graphs that prove that vaccinations have never eradicated anything. They are the cause of most diseases that we see. And obviously I'm talking about this, and I've given some references, and I hope that these references do help you. But I want to leave you with a little bit of understanding, and I just want to say, I'm not a medical doctor, I'm not a medical expert, or what you would class as an expert, but I'm just self-researching. I get my knowledge from all kinds of different people, and I try and do my best to understand everything. And you see, to try and understand a little bit of the body, our body has a kitchen and a bathroom, you know? Our kitchen being the blood, our bathroom being the lymph. The blood feeds our cells. The blood comes in and feeds our cells and our bodies and our tissue. And the lymph system is our bathroom. It's responsible of removing the cellular waste. And what happens, and what the root of disease actually is when the lymph system is unable to remove that waste, when it becomes stagnant. When the lymph system becomes stagnant and is unable to produce, remove the waste, we get a buildup of waste. It backs up, and what ends up happening, it creates a breeding ground of acidosis and inflammation. And this is the root cause of disease, and this is what causes cancer. And this happens in many ways, forming the wrong lifestyle habits, not exercising, not doing the right exercises, eating foods that are acid forming and mucus forming. You see, there are two sides of chemistry. It's alkaline or it's acid. Either something's alkaline, either something's acidic. And we want to stay more on the alkaline side. The more acidic you go, the more corrosive you go, the more troubles you will face. And to improve the lymph system is, because I want to end with some value for you guys, there are many things we can do, and that is to eat more alkaline forming foods, to eat foods that are not going to clog up and keep your lymph system stagnant. You want to eat foods that support the lymph movement. Not only this, you want to do the right exercises, rebounding, jumping, inversion, to get the lymph system flowing, making sure that all the trillions of cells are producing cellular debris and waste, that the lymph system is transporting that and getting rid of it and removing it. It's mainly by the kidneys, and you can test if your kidneys are filtering by basically 3 to 4 hours before you sleep. Don't drink or eat anything, then pee in a clear jar or urinate in a clear jar in the morning. And if your urine is clear, then you are not filtering, because your urine is supposed to be cloudy and it's supposed to have sediment in it. That's how you know you're filtering. And eat foods that support kidney filtration, that boost adrenal function, and you'll start seeing improvements in your health, because that is the root cause of disease, when the bathroom isn't working. And it's so absurd to me when you see and you look at like chemotherapy or especially treatments for cancer, where they're removing lymph nodes, which is basically our septic tank, which is what breaks down our proteins and our cellular debris into the format it needs to be taken outside the body. And if we're getting rid of these nodes and these septic tanks, what happens when you get rid of the septic tank? Sorry, there's a huge B. What happens when you get rid of a septic tank in your house? Where does the waste go? It just backs up, and you're gonna face so many horrible problems, right? So yeah, I hope this video was eye-opening. I mean, I'm going to speak about this more often. I'm planning on doing more YouTube videos, so stay tuned. This was a bit of a heavy one, a long one, but I hope there is some value in this. Comment below if you have any resources, if you have anything you want to share to help people understand this, because I think there is an awakening going on right now, a greater one. And I think if we can get many more people to have an open mind, I call it ubiquitous assimilation, you know, being able to absorb everything everywhere all the time, and take it in and absorb it. That is what we have to become. That is consciousness. And yeah, we need to perpetuate this. Yeah, I hope this helped, and trust me, when you find out like when you really go down and figure out more about the lymph system, how to improve your own health and take your own health into your own hands, you will start to see great results, my friends. Peace.